welcome to this week's live Q&A. My name is Vanya Fatidis, and I'm from Peaceful Eating, where I help people get off that dieting roller coaster, come to a place of peace with food and ease in your own body so that you can get on with doing the things that really matter to you in your life. So every week I answer your questions in half an hour or less, depending who asks how many questions and how in depth they are. Just a warning that really I don't know. Typically, I don't know the people that are asking me questions, don't know very much about them. So I'm usually answering the questions at face value. So please just take that on board. Okay, this is showing us not. Anyway, I'm going to just keep going because I'm assuming everything's okay. So I just want to take a moment to um, just really name what is going on around the world right now in terms of the protests that are happening in America and other cities around the world around anti-racism. And really, I'm not going to say very much about this because I want to really be hearing other voices rather than my own. But I do want to say that I am here, I'm learning, I am 100% in support of people of color, Black people, minority groups. And really, I strongly believe that we cannot be totally free in our own bodies unless we're all free in our own bodies. And it's not okay. So that's what I'm going to say about that for now. And I'm going to get on now and answer this week's questions. So today I have two questions. And this is the first one. I'm trying to stay calm and not get panicked by tighter clothes. Trying to accept food as a comfort is, is absolutely normal and not sinful, but having some struggles with it. So the question is how to keep a lid on the panic of getting bigger and any encouragement and reminders of why I need to go with it and not start restricting. So I do happen to know the person who asked this question. And so I do have a little bit of more information about her so I can perhaps be a bit more personal in the response. And the first thing I want to say is really if you're wearing clothes that are too tight, number one, basic, very fundamental thing, get some new clothes or really wear clothes that fit you. I know this can be difficult, particularly, for people who have different levels of financial security. But if you can, find a way to wear clothes that do fit you. That's the most important thing. It'd be great if you could wear clothes that fit you and that you like. That would be ideal. But first stop is clothes that fit you. Because if you are wearing clothes that are tight, you're going to have this constant reminder that your body is not fitting in your clothes, and it keeps that internal mirror very very activated. So it's a bit like jumping on the scale 20 times a day to check your weight. You're just this constant feedback that you're getting from your clothes, which is going to tip you back into diet mentality. So that would be the first um, recommendation that I have for you. The second thing you say is, I'm just going to get my, don't know why I never remembered to do this before I come on. The second thing to say is you're saying, how do I keep a lid on the panic? Or I'm trying to keep a lid on the panic. And I would suggest with any feelings that we don't try and keep a lid on it. No feeling is a bad feeling. And the more we're able to lean into our feelings, allow them, accept our feelings, the the more easily they will pass and something else will arise. But when we're trying to put a lid on something, it's more likely to keep it activated, right? Because what feelings really want is to be felt. So if what you're feeling is panic, then see if you can, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, but see if you can relax into the panic. So how do you do that? You take some deep breaths. When you feel the panic coming, it's first of all name it. This is panic. Be kind to yourself. Can you give yourself some compassion? Take a few breaths, really deep breaths, because actually what deep breaths do is they switch you from a sympathetic nervous system state, which is panic, or panic is in a sympathetic nervous system state, to a parasympathetic nervous system state, which is a more of a relaxation response. So the first thing is recognize that it's panic, see if you can relax into it a bit, and then do some inquiry. Ask the panic what it is here to tell you. What is behind the panic? Because the panic, if there's panic like there is an earthquake, or there is a lion chasing you, or a person chasing you that you don't know, okay, that is a an appropriate response. But the kind of panic that you're talking about is generated from your mind, and it's generated by thoughts and beliefs that you have about probably weight gain, and what that means to you. So that's the inquiry that I think you need to be doing. What are you believing about weight gain? What are you making it mean about yourself? And probably what you're doing is you are future projecting. You're projecting into the future. So you're not staying here now. You're in 2 months, in 6 months, in a year's time, kind of um, projection, right? What's going to happen to my body in 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years? I don't know how far you're going into the future, but draw it back to the now. Be here now, right? So, what I do know about you is that you have taken my course. And what I would encourage you to do is go back to some of the materials. Now, you know, these materials are there for you to continue to use because this is an evolving process. I don't think we're ever really done with the work of um, reclaiming our body trust because there's so much around us that destabilizes it. So it is a practice. So I would re-engage with some of the materials. In particular, lesson 3, which is how to let go of weight loss as a goal. Now, knowing what I know about you, it's probably not a very high active thought of yours at the moment about desiring weight loss very strongly. However, it is probably an undercurrent there because I'm guessing the panic is about weight gain, which means you are maybe not necessarily wanting to lose weight, but not wanting to gain more weight. I would go back and revisit that lesson. I would also suggest that you go to lesson 9, which is about what to do with your programming, which is all about how you challenge thoughts, how you can uncover your thoughts and challenge them, because that is partly what is going to set you free here, is getting a hold of what meanings are you making out of this, and then how do you really process those meanings so that they haven't grabbed you by the short and curlies. Okay. Um, you ask for, what did you say here? Let me just encouragement and reminders about why you need to go with it and not start restricting. Well, I'm not going to tell you what you need to go with and not go with because that's not my place. But you have a choice. So the choice of restricting will probably end up with obsession, eating disordered thinking and behaving, and most likely further weight gain. And I'm not saying this to frighten you. I'm saying it because it's a well documented reality that restriction, it's one of the biggest predictors of weight gain is dieting or restricting. So, um, you know, there you go. There's also something I wanted to say to you about comfort eating. Of course, there is nothing wrong with comfort eating. All animals will be seeking comfort and avoiding discomfort, and this is normal. This is, of course, we would, right? Who wants to be uncomfortable? My guess is, well, what I find is that with just about everybody that I work with, and I know for myself as well, is that comfort eating is much more likely if you have a history of dieting and restricting. It's going to be more likely to be something that you draw on as a way to try and comfort yourself. So, of course, the work is to continue to dismantle the diet mentality and the internalized fat phobia, and to um, continue to do the work on building your emotional resilience so that you have greater capacity to be with difficult emotions. And that's not just going to help you in terms of greater attunement to your body's signals in terms of eating, it's going to help you just feel more stable in your own life, right? And more able to navigate life. If you can really, um, it's a bit like being on a boat and not capsizing when the water gets rocky, but creating some kind of steadiness inside of you. So I hope that that helps. Um, and that was in lesson 7, by the way, of the course. If you want to revisit that part, building your emotional resilience. All right, let me move on to the next question. So this person says, how do I work past the feeling of wanting to eat all of anything sweet I bring into the house? For example, I had lunch delivered today, complete with a dessert. I tried to be mindful of when my body had had enough, and I did discard some things I normally would have eaten all of because they tasted too salty. But when it came to the dessert, I ate the whole thing, even though about halfway through it, I felt my body saying enough. My mind was saying, no, it's all mine, as if someone would take it away if I didn't eat it immediately, except for, as if someone would take it away if I didn't eat it immediately. Oh, except for a 1-year old, I live alone. And this happens pretty much any time I bring sweets in the house. Mine, mine, mine. How do I get a grip on myself? Well, the first thing that I would say is have compassion for yourself. Your words saying, how do I get a grip on myself, sound, should we say, less than compassionate. And I do understand your frustration. So, I'm not criticizing you for not being compassionate. That wouldn't be very compassionate, would it? So, that would be where I'd start, is to have some compassion for yourself because this is not easy and you're having a difficult time with this. So, could you start with giving yourself some compassion? The next thing I want to say is that from what I'm reading from your question, it seems to me that you are scared. You're not so much scared that someone else is going to take it away from you. You're more scared that you're not going to let yourself have dessert. So I'm seeing fear of food here, fear particularly of sugary foods or desserts. And you're not trusting yourself to have them in the house, which is why what you say is every time I bring them in the house, anytime I bring them in the house, you have the same thing, mine, mine, mine. It's like you've got to eat it all now. And it sounds like even though you're giving yourself permission to have dessert, I'm not sure that you are unconditionally giving yourself permission to have dessert. What restriction does is create a bigger desire for something. And so while you're not physically restricting yourself from ever eating dessert, there probably is some level of physical restriction because you don't have it in your house unless you make a choice to bring it in your house. But I'm pretty clear from what you're saying that there is mental restriction. So you're worrying about how much of it you're eating, you're wanting yourself to stop at a certain point. And I get that your tummy, your body was saying it was enough. But the thing is, when your mind is saying you shouldn't be having this, you should be stopping, you shouldn't have so much of this, we shouldn't have this in the house because, I can't trust myself, I always eat it all the time. When that sort of dialogue is happening in your mind, you're not going to eat it when you've had enough. You're going to rebel and eat it all now because you're not sure when you're next going to let yourself have it again. So the opposite to restriction is abundance. And I know that this can be quite a scary thing to do, but there it is. The opposite thing to restriction is abundance. And so if you were to create an abundant environment for yourself with dessert, then you will be, it might take a little while for things to settle down, but you will, at some point, it'll just be, I can have this any time I want it. And then everything settles down and you're much more likely to go, do I really want it? Do I feel like it? Think of anything. Think of a child. You've got a 1-year-old. So now I'm not sure because it's been a while since I've had a 1-year-old. But um, if a small child, if you say they can't have a thing, that's the thing that they want. It can literally be anything. So I remember well, I don't remember because I wasn't born yet, but my mother likes to tell the story that when my older brother was little, he said, I don't know, fuck something. And I think it was that. And instead of my mother saying, oh, don't ever say that, it's a very, very bad word, she said to my brother, you can say fuck anytime you like, but I tell you, one word you should never, ever, ever say is kapuna. And she did that because she knew that he would want to do the thing that he wasn't allowed to do. So that's all he said for the next, I don't know how long. He just said kapuna and he forgot about the other word. It's really, this is how the psychology works. And I know you're not a 4-year-old, but it's the same thing. So look at toilet paper during the pandemic. No toilet paper, everyone wants toilet paper, or anything right now. Maybe, you have less access to the shops. I've had a few people say to me, even though they don't ever want such and such a food, because they can't just get what they want whenever they want it because they are only shopping once a week or whatever, suddenly they want something they haven't wanted for 15 years just because it's not available to them immediately like this if they wanted it. So that's what I'd encourage you to do is work on giving yourself unconditional permission to eat what you want. So I hope that that's helpful. And please, if anybody has any more questions, go to my website, peacefuleating.co.uk, look for the tab that says Q&A videos, and you can submit your question anonymously there. And thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.